For this episode of Everything 210, we're taking you inside the Briscoe Western Art Museum, where one exhibit explores a history more than 400 years in the making. The other celebrates a woman whose music forever changed Tejano culture. At first glance, they may seem like two very different stories, but together they reveal a legacy that stretches from the Vaqueros who helped shape the American West to the queen of Tejano music herself. Let's take a look.
We feel like it's an untold story, but an important story. And this is the first time many of these pieces have ever been on display in the United States. So we're just honored that here at the Briscoe, we get to be part of telling that story. Because she was such a trailblazer herself, and such a positive influence for so many young girls.
My first reaction was, this is a young lady that is full of life. What she gave me was beyond words.
We are so excited here at the Briscoe Western Art Museum to be presenting our largest and most ambitious exhibition that we have ever aimed for. It's Tejano Legacy, Another American Origin Story, and it traces back the roots of over 400 years of that Tejano influence that is really so key and important. I think that so many people, not only in San Antonio, but all of our visitors are going to be moved by this exhibition, and it's so powerful, and there's parts of it that are just frankly spiritual in nature. And so I'm excited for us to be able to share that. But just the fact that these pieces are, they're so unique and they're so different. And when you think about the artistry in them, we have this incredible wardrobe that's on display here. And when you look at the inlay and the craftsmanship, nobody's doing anything like that today. And so all of this takes you back. There's so many different angles that you can kind of delve into. Even when you think about just the framing of some of these incredible pieces, it's absolutely extraordinary. And I am excited because I don't think that here in San Antonio, folks get to see a lot of this.
Visitors will walk through centuries of history, exploring the influence of Tejanos, Spanish missions, and the Vaqueros.
When you think about the Tejanos and when you think about American culture, what's the biggest icon in America? It's the American cowboy. But when you really take a deeper dive to that, there is no cowboy without the vaquero. Everything from the way they ranch, to the way they ride, to the accoutrements that they wear, to the way they cook, to the culture, to the saddles and the riding styles, even to the hats. All of that came and was derived from the vaqueros. And so in this exhibition, we are just thrilled. We have a massive collection from a family that we're honored to get to showcase here, as well as many institutions from all over the country that have helped us build out this exhibition, as well as several museums down in Mexico itself.
For the Briscoe, it's an opportunity to tell a story that's often left out of American history.
And I like to tell people not everything started in Jamestown. There's this whole other way that people were coming into our country, and the imprinting that influence has had on us. And again, I go back to that. There is no cowboy without a vaquero. So everything starts with the vaquero. Even so much so that here at the Briscoe, as a Western Art Museum, we define the West through 4 pillars, what we call the 4 pillars of Western art. So of course you have your natural cowboys in the American frontier. That's a no-brainer. The next you have native peoples of the lands, and then the third would be the wildlife and landscape. But we felt here at Briscoe, because of where we are geographically located, here in San Antonio in South Texas, there was something still missing. We were like, wait a minute, there's a way bigger part of Western art that is the beginning of everything that's Western, and that is the story of the vaquero, the Tejanos, the Spanish missions, and there's some dark parts of that history, And we're hoping that visitors will come in and be open to exploring all of it.
But Tejano history isn't confined to the past. Its influence lives on through generations and through icons like Selena Quintanilla.
Because she was such a trailblazer herself. I mean, and such a positive influence for so many young girls. I would think just being such a powerful and strong Tejana. And so that marries in so well. And so I love being able to bring something that so much of today's population, they know Selena, they remember Selena, and even children today love her music. And so Selena lives on. You know, I think Siempre Selena says it all.
That idea inspired the museum's companion exhibit, Selena Forever, Siempre Selena, featuring photographs by San Antonio photographer John Dyer.
In 1992, a magazine in New York called Mas Magazine, M-A-S, called me. They were the first Spanish language magazine in the United States. They were in New York. And they said, there's a young woman in South Texas, a singer, that's beginning to make a name for herself. We want to do a cover story on her. And on the day of the shoot, she showed up in her little red hatchback by herself and opened up the back, and she had probably every costume, performing costume, that she'd ever worn or ever used in the back. And it took two of us with big armfuls of costumes. We went into my studio, went into the dressing room, put it all in a big pile on the floor, and from then on, 8 hours later, we had, I probably shot 100 rolls of film. I mean, my first reaction was, this is a young lady that is full of life, loves life, has got lots of energy, and I'm just going to let her do what she thinks is the right thing to do. So she'd run in the dressing room and she'd come out dressed like this. And I'd say, stand in front of the red background. And I had all of my equipment set up, my camera, tripod, lights, all ready to go, so that she could get in front of the situation and then just be herself. I could see that my camera just absolutely loved this young lady. There was almost nothing that she could do that wasn't going to give me a good picture. So fast forward to the end of the day, we shot in front of this background, we shot in front of the neutral background, we shot late in the afternoon outside in beautiful late afternoon light. I let her pick the outfits she wanted to wear. Sometimes we would shoot, and she'd say, let me try a different hat, and she'd come in and stand in the same place. But a lot of it, most of it, well, all of it, I'd say, it was a collaboration 50-50 between she and I. Neither one of us was in charge, neither one of us was calling the shots. We collaborated.
When Dyer photographed Selena again 2 years later, everything had changed. She'd become a star.
She was not the ebullient, full of life Selena that came to me in '92. She was 2 years older, more mature, more of a star. She was quiet, subdued. Not that she was unwilling to work with me, but it would have been a huge mistake for me to say, okay, put the bustier on, I'm going to put a light on you, I want you to start dancing around the room. Because that's not where she was. That's not what she presented me with as where she was in her life right then. She was in a quieter, more pensive mood, and so I photographed her that way.
One of Dyer's favorite photographs almost never happened. He kept asking Selena not to smile. She tried until she couldn't anymore.
I said, okay, Selena, we got you all set up. Now look at the camera and don't smile. Well, little smiles are creeping up. Sometimes when we tell people not to do something, that's what they do. I said, now don't smile. She tried it again and started giggling a little bit. And I said, don't smile. So all of a sudden she just busts out laughing. And here's like the third responsibility a photographer has: be ready. Be prepared, be ready, so that when you get this, and it just came and went like that, you're ready to go. Because you can't say, oh, that was wonderful when you did that, can you do it again? No, you can't. You either get it or you don't. So photographers have a lot of responsibility in this relationship, as does the subject. Each has to bring a pretty honest amount of themselves to the photo shoot. So I'm sure, looking back, I'm sure that's what happened. She just couldn't contain the don't smile thing and just busted out laughing.
That split second became one of the most genuine images in the exhibition.
So being able to have that exhibition, the Selena exhibition, in conjunction with Tejano Legacy, it's a beautiful marriage of the two, because it reminds us that the Tejanos, that's not something of the past, that's something that we are here and living today.
The Briscoe hopes visitors may come for Selena, but leave with something even greater, a deeper understanding of the people, traditions, and stories that help shape Texas. Because Tejano Legacy isn't just about the past, it's about recognizing a culture that's still shaping our communities today. I'm Darcy Ramirez. Thanks for watching Everything 210.